Today we have the Sony PlayStation Classic. This is one of the similar new or retro style consoles that have been coming out. The first one, of course, was a Nintendo Classic Entertainment System. Then, of course, we had the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Mini, and now we have the PlayStation Classic Mini. You may not have seen so much of the PlayStation compared to the Nintendo consoles, mainly because, well, it wasn't that great. We're going to start off first by reviewing, of course, its main products. So we know that the PlayStation Mini was basically I guess you could say a competitive option compared to the new minis that are coming out, but it didn't live up to its full potential. Nowadays, it's very hard to find one of the Nintendo minis, and they're ridiculously expensive. You can actually find one, or I've seen many of them for like 120, 160, and for that kind of money, I mean, I could just buy a whole brand new old school Nintendo system for even cheaper, and it comes with games. The PlayStation wanted to market into it as well, but it wasn't that much of a success. When it came out, if I'm not mistaken, it was about $100, and then it went down drastically. I ended up getting this from GameStop for about $20, and that's that. Of course, you could see the sticker that says $39.99. It wasn't such a big hit because of the games it had. Of course, you could see some there. Of course, it had Battle Arena, Toshi, then Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy 7, Grand Theft Auto. We have Oddworld, Apes Odyssey, Mr. Driller, Metal Gear Solid, Jumping Flash, Intelligent Cube, Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Revelations Persona, R4 Ridge Racer Type 4. We had Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Wild Arms, Twisted Metal, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Tekken 3, and Siphon Filter. Now, these games, there was a lot of controversy regarding them because they weren't the best games that should have been placed on here. I mean, you have so many more. I mean, they didn't even have Crash Bandicoot or Spyro. If they had either one of those two, I can assure you that the PlayStation Mini would have been a lot better at selling the consoles itself than it originally was. The system itself, it actually comes in pretty well. It, if you could see, give me 1 second. Let me just alter this really quick. Nope, okay. So we have the console itself, and we have two controllers. We do have an HDMI cable, and we have also USB cable for power supply. The only downside that I can't believe it doesn't have, which emphasizes it right there, says USB adapter not included. So you have to get a USB adapter. The good thing is that you can just use any kind of adapter that you have for phones or anything, and it should work perfectly fine. Let me show you really quick the actual console. So the console is very nice. It's true to its replica form. It's small, very small. It has two USB ports. I would have really liked if you were able to use the memory slots, card slots. That would have been a really great idea. Or if you were able to open up the disc tray, but you can't. In the back, of course, we see HDMI component and as well the power supply. And that's it. I mean, it's literally that's it. When you're using the game, the open button can be used for multi-disc purposes. So by any chance, like Final Fantasy actually had multiple discs. So when you're playing the game, you can actually press open, and of course it would open the tray, and you could put it in. However, well, hold on, before I continue, I'm gonna want to show you first the controller. It comes with two of them, and they're not big. I mean, it's the size of a console, but it actually, it feels nice. It's very small, but button wise, pretty good response. And of course, the cable is a USB cable as well. It's a pretty long cord. It has a pretty good response rate with its games. I know I had a couple of friends come over, and they didn't really like the control because it felt a lot smaller. And this is one of the biggest downsides. I would have really wished that they would have put the analog sticks. That would have made it so much better. However, what I ended up doing was I ended up modding it to be able to use auto bleem, and I have a 128 gigabyte SD card, and that's basically what I've been using to at its full potential. I know through Reddit, that's how I found out about the price. Someone on Reddit mentioned that the PlayStation Mini was on $20 at GameStop, so I rushed to, I think like four of them, and I had to call some other ones, and I finally found one, and I got my hands on it. Originally, I wanted to get the Nintendo Mini for the same purposes as what the PlayStation I'm using it for, to modify it and be able to use emulators and ROMs and the whole vice versa as well. But since I couldn't find the other ones, I found the PlayStation Mini, and you know what? It works great. I actually really enjoy it. I'm able to use the PlayStation. I added about 58 games so far. They all work pretty well. In regards to, let's say, for example, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES, there are kind of small delays. I know I had a friend who was mentioning that Donkey Kong Country had, somewhat of a delay. It wasn't, at its full potential compared to its original console or the game as well. But, it did the job, and, it's actually been doing pretty well. I haven't had any issues with it so far. It's done pretty well. What I ended up having to use is for one section, of course, slot 2, I have the USB, and for slot 1, that's where I actually connect the USB hub. This one's actually from Walmart, and it works pretty great as well. This is the on 4-port USB hub. I actually had to do some research to find out, because some of the USB hubs that are sold aren't really compatible with the modifications. I'm not sure if it's like power supply or anything, but I am able to hook up both controls of the PlayStation on this, and I'm able to use them at the same time. So it works pretty well. It was like $5, I think, at Walmart. There were some other ones that were a bit more pricey. Of course, you have the Taurus and some other brands, but all in all, it does a job. The USB, this guy hub card reader, I ended up getting through eBay for like 70 cents. You don't really need any special kind of device or anything. I mean, the 70 cents, and it came from China. It took up about 2 weeks or something, and I mean, it does a job. I have another one as well, and as long as it's a card reader, it does really great. There shouldn't be any kind of issues or anything. The game settings or setup as well, they're pretty good. Of course, PlayStation 1 systems, they very rigid, the poly format and everything, but all in all, it works really great. It does a job, and with the modifications, it really, I guess you could say, is worth the money. For $20, I'm not sure if it's the same price still right now at GameStop or other stores, but if you're able to pick one up, I'd really highly recommend it. You could mod it, you could do additional things. The games on board aren't the great. They're not like, whoa, amazing, but they're okay to start off with. I know one of the ones I started using, of course, was Rayman, the Resident Evil. I would have really loved if it had Silent Hill on this. That would have been amazing. But of course, you have Twisted Metal. If you want to just go ahead and pick one up, for $20, it's worth it. Not the original $100 or even $60 or even $40, I wouldn't recommend. For $20, yeah, I'd pick one up. And you know what? Might as well get the warranty. I ended up buying a warranty for a year, so it wasn't even that much. I forgot what the price was, but if it messes up, you're more than welcome to go ahead and return it, swap it up for another one if they still have PSP consoles or the minis. But aside from that, I would really recommend one. It's a good time spend. It passes the time if you have any moments or anything. And the good thing is, it's not a huge device or anything, so you can just pack it up in your bag, take a remote or take two, and connect it to a TV if you're traveling or anything. Of course, you could do the same thing with a Nintendo Switch, but can the Nintendo Switch play all these amazing games? Yeah, probably it can, and even more. PlayStation Mini, I recommend it. It's a good purchase. $20, I'd highly get one again. But of course, I'd get one and make sure to mod it. It's a lot better. It does a job. The only thing is, of course, I would have really enjoyed it if they had the analog stick. But for $20, you can't go wrong. I give this a thumbs up. It's a good purchase. If you can't find the Nintendo Mini consoles, PlayStation is the way to go. I know right now they have like the Sega one too, but this one works pretty good. I enjoy it, and once you mod it, you could do whatever you want with it. So there you go. This is PlayStation, Sony PlayStation Classic Mini Console. Recommend it. Get your hands on one of them and have some fun.